Te Trina Bheka Atihina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Piya Korohe Dase Bheka Atihina Gurudev Sakala Sahane Bolo Diya Koro Nijamani Spriyahina Sakale Saman Purite Shakati Dihonata Jagata Sakale Saman Purite Shakati Dihonata Jagata Kabito Gaivo Harinama Sukhe Aparatha Bekata Kabihe no kripa labhaiya jano hitasha hui denata Kabihe no kripa labhaiya jano Shakti buddhi amiyate din Koromore Atmasaka Shakti buddhi amiyate din Koromore Atmasaka Jogjata vichare kichu nahi pai Tomara karuna saro Karunana hoile kandiya kandiya prananara kibo aro Karunana hoile kandiya kandiya prananara kibo aro Gurudev kripa bindu diya Dasa Jina Bheka Yatina Gurudev Parama Karuna Pahundvi Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Shabavatar Sarashinamani Kevala Ananda Sanda Bajo Bajo Pai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrida Vishwasa Kori Vishaya Chadiya Shirasi Majya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Dekore Bai Vibhuvane Emona Doya Latata Pashupati Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Jaru Guna Katha Shari Majya Rohili Kodia She Pade Nahi Lo Asha Apana Karama Bunjai Shamana Koi Lochana Dasa Paramakoruna Ahambijam Hidai Gaurachandra Sai Gaur Premanande Jadiya Vaishnava Sevan Vistara Paiche Seva Jadiya Vaishnava Seva Vistara Paiche Seva Namashishtam Manamapi Shachiputram Matra Sarupam Rupam tasyagrajam urupori maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girvaramoho radhika madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi He Guru Jnanadarina Bandho Swananda Data Koranaika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dina Bandho Koranaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandamudhe Laksha Parade Bahupapa Gadhe Tadpada Padme Stumatishta Krishna Yadyapi Amar Guru Chaitanya Radas Tatapi Janiye Ami Tanhara Prakash Guru Krishna Rupahana Shastrera Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karena Bhakta Gane Shikha Guru Tajane Krishnera Sarupa Antaryami Bhakta Shreshta Eduri Rupa Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayasta Vesha Ramayupi Kritam Ridamudha Smaranta Yontar Bahis Tanubritam Ashubhan Madunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapushva Swagatim Yanakti. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master. By whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him also as a plenary manifestation of the Lord. Every living entity, is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore, the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. The spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training his disciples in a service attitude. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. The relationship of a disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. Spiritual masters always represent themselves as the humblest servitors of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon the spiritual master as the manifested representation of Godhead. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the supersoul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Sri Govinda Dev Vigraha. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. Vedic scriptures sing of his care. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Gives the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana. It's too high. Huh? Yeah. Sri Guru. Is it high? Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Gati Sadma. Bando Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar Srivasadi, Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivasadi, Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Prabhu Nityananda, Gadadhar, Shivatari, Go Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Go Premanande, Hare Go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hey, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kartal, more kartal. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Get ready, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Ram Sankirtan Ki, Hari Nam Mantra Ki, Hari Nam Prabhu Ki, Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Om Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakajajasto Tadashat Shishimad Izamange Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakajajasto Tadashat Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Zagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sambeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Oh, glory to some of the devotees. All glories to some of the devotees. All glories to some of the devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Yashoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Sarasatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Udiraye. Sugiwa. Next. Nexta. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Nexta. Nexta. Next slide, please. No more? That's all we get? Krishna, Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dear Srila Prabhupada, Dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please empower us in this class so that we may illuminate your glories. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. The Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana in that it gives the topmost understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth without an admixture of other processes. Its intention is stated in the second verse, Dharma Projita Kaitavo, Tra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam. It's for the Satam, those who are completely serious about discovering the Absolute Truth. And it presents the highest truth, does the Bhagavatam, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. And it completely rejects even the semblance of any other process to reach the Supreme Absolute Truth, other than bhakti itself. This is its intention, to present bhakti as the highest method of obtaining the Lord. We find throughout the Bhagavatam, as we do in the Bhagavad Gita, various other methods described and seemingly prescribed. Ultimately, however, from the point of view of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples who have enumerated his teachings, these are for comparative purposes. That is, by describing the various philosophies that relate to the Absolute Truth, one can by comparison then show the superiority of bhakti. Even in the discussion of philosophy in general, there are many different schools of thought through which the philosophers try to present a perfect path to understand the purpose of life and the Absolute Truth. In fact, there are altogether 6 darshans, or philosophical paths. There's Sankhya, which is a description of the elements of the material world, especially by the atheistic Kapila, who presented how everything evolves from subtle to gross. We have the process of yoga, presented by Patanjali Muni, who gave the eightfold path of meditation. We have the path of Nyaya, which gives the techniques of logic to come to an understanding of the ultimate. We have Vaisesika philosophy by Kanada, who describes the various aspects of metaphysical reality. We have Mimamsa philosophy, through which one has the in which there's a systematic approach to studying the Vedic literatures. However, Mimamsa philosophy doesn't come to an ultimate conclusion of our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then there's Vedanta, which of course must be explained by those in the path of pure devotional service to be accurately presented and understood by Srila Vyasadeva, Badarayana Vyasadeva. And that is considered by our acharyas to be the perfect presentation. And of course, Vyasadeva himself gave us the Vedanta Sutra. And the Vedanta Sutra is a summary of the Upanishads and the Vedic literatures. And then he gave what is called the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra. And of course, he gave that explanation in terms of, or being inspired by, his guru, Narada Muni. He had penned a version of the Bhagavat Purana to expound on the glories of devotional service. But when he met his guru and explained that he felt unsatisfied by his endeavors so far, which were significant because he had given the Vedas in various compartments by empowering various disciples to teach them so they could focus. He divided the Vedas, that's why he's called Vyasa, because Vyasa means an editor, someone who helps to present something in a more comprehensive way, or not comprehensive, but more understandable way to the audience. That's why he divided the one Veda into 4. And then from the Veda he gave the teachings of the Upanishads, which is the first fully transcendental aspect of the Vedas, because it's describing rational knowledge, that which is beyond the endeavor marked by the various compartments of knowledge that are inherent within the human, as described by the Vedas personified when they talk about these 5 levels of comprehension of the world. The first one is called Annamoy. Annamoy we can see in little children who are especially receptive, or I might say exclusively receptive to food. And of course, many animals are in that category as well. And then there's pranamoy, when one becomes aware that one's alive and subsequently tries to protect one's life. And if one is able to survive, then one feels successful in life. And then comes manomoy, is an awakening of mental speculation. Most of society is categorized on these 3 ways, or can be categorized based on observation. Above that, there's an evolution when one comes to Vijnanamoy and realizes that there must be something more than these 3 base categories, and then one begins to investigate the self. This is the point at which the Upanishads point out to us that there's something beyond just the physical world. And if we look inside ourselves, we can see it, which is the soul and consciousness within the body. This is Vijnanamoy, that investigation, through which one can come to categorize the material energy and the spiritual energy as distinct categories, to know tattva. And from that position, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanamanmam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sarmahatma Sudurlabaha, one may evolve to Anandamoy, which is where one begins to develop one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the process of self-realization, one sees that the ultimate goal, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, is to be reconnected with Vasudeva. And this is where the Srimad Bhagavatam begins. Dharma prodita kaitavo trapo paramo nirmatsaranam satam. And the Vedanta summarized in the Vedanta Sutra and then expounded upon in the Srimad Bhagavatam, then is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's specific emphasis. As Radhika Raman pointed out in his lecture when he was here several years ago, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Mahaprabhu's philosophy. And in analyzing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Jiva Goswami, under the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other Goswamis, has presented the Parivar Sutra, the place in which you say the rest of the Bhagavatam is explaining this verse. And Ete chamsa kalapumsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vakulam lokam Mridayanti yuge yuge. The Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete chamshakala pumsam. All others are his parts that emanate from him. And he's the source of everything. We hear also in the Brahma Samhita, the revelation by Brahma, after he had investigated the nature of Krishna in Vrindavan, wondering if he actually was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because in Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan, he doesn't look majestic or all-powerful like Narayan. He looks like a little child playing with his friends. And Brahma thought, could it be my Lord? And as we know, he played a trick by stealing away, using his mystic power, Krishna's cows, calves, and boys. And of course, Krishna, in his Vaibhava Prakash manifestations, re-manifested the exact same cows, calves, and boys, thus bewildering Brahma, who later came to find that the cows, calves, and boys he had stolen were still there. And in wonderment, and after further investigation, he found there was 2 sets. And he was bewildered. And Krishna, who showing overwhelming mystic power to Brahma, as anyone can perhaps remember a time in his or her life that when we're given some power, we may think that we're all powerful. It happens. And he thought that Krishna, as a little coward boy, was maybe not so powerful because of his tiny little body. But then Krishna showed him that all Narayans and all other avatars of the Lord were coming from his body. And he was the source of everything and everyone. And then, of course, we have the all-important chapter 14 of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives the essential conclusion of Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Swayam is important. Swayam Bhagavan is a term which describes the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not used in relationship to Krishna's other manifestations, only to Krishna, Bhagavan's Swayam. And then, of course, going back to the other narrative, Narada had presented to Vyasadeva that you've not gone far enough in describing the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pastimes in the spiritual world. And he pointed out to him that this is the only means of extricating oneself, not only extricating oneself from the material world, but more importantly, of developing love for Krishna. We crave specificity. And I was noting this morning while chanting japa and looking at Tulsi Devi's stand, there are carvings like peacocks and so forth. We could revert to architecture and designs like in Silicon Valley, or even more so, I was in Irvine, California, and driving through what's called a business park, with lovely surroundings in nature, but all the buildings were simply square or rectangular with no aesthetic features at all, because they're all meant for business and efficiency. And that I was left wanting. But when I saw the peacocks on Tulsi's stand, I was thinking, we all want to see the variety of this material world, of the world itself. We're not satisfied by plainness. And we're also not satisfied by the variety of the material world, because it's a reflection of the spiritual world, a la chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains that this material world is a reflection, so whatever variety you seek here for satisfaction won't ultimately satisfy you. You have to find the source of all the variety. And this was one of the points Narada was making, that whatever enticements you give to people for self-realization, naishkarmyam apya chuta bhava varjitam nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam, that they're not beautiful enough to attract the soul. Even naishkarmyam, the idea of selfless service in the world, working just for a higher cause, not attaching yourself to the fruits of your labor, ordinary self-realization won't do it. You can be even liberated in the sense of knowing you're not your body, beyond even the theoretical knowledge. And still without devotional service, he says, without achuta bhava, or an emotion awakening for Krishna, then in ashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam, it's not good enough to satisfy the soul and attract you to perform devotional service, which naturally takes one to a higher level of engagement in this world. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasa dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param jushva nivartate. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you may be engaged in restraining your senses, but you'll always be thinking about it. And you know, at the right moment when you're a little depressed, you're going to find yourself sitting in a corner with an empty half-gallon of ice cream and a spoon in your hand and wonder what happened. Or any number of other attractions in the material world. People may restrain their senses for a long time, but the urge within, Vishwamrita had meditated for thousands of years, but then heard some ankle bells, and it awoke a sense of desire for enjoying the variety of the material world. And he came out of meditation and took a long hiatus. So Narada was pointing this out to Vyasadeva, and having the North Star, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, is vital, because there is a way in which when we want the ultimate process of devotional service, we have to have the ultimate goal. Uttara notices this in the Bhagavatamrita, that there are certain kinds of devotees that are imbued with a kind of devotion that you don't find elsewhere. She therefore deduced that there must be a place where they would all go, or where they would worship in that mood. There must be an environment. And that is one of her questions to her son, asking Parikshit, where is that place? What is that place? So the Bhagavatam points us in that direction. And we have Brahma Samhita. First, I alluded to that earlier. Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Na Navatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And that there are many manifestations of Krishna. He expands himself into various avatars and kalas, parts. Still, he's the original. What's more, his qualities are topmost. So, when we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, we find a quick summary in the 9th chapter. Shukadeva Goswami is explaining the appearance of Lord Ram in the world. And there's much to be said about him. He gives a summary there. Our acharyas give commentary on that description. One of the explanations of, or descriptions of Lord Ram is that his abode in the spiritual world, Ayodhya, is in the district of Mathura. And, of course, we know in the hierarchy of realms, Goloka namni nijadamni tale tatasya devi mahesha haridam suteshu teshu te prabhava nishaya vihitaschayena govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. There's Devi Dham, there's Mahesh Dham, above Mahesh Dham is Haridam, and above Haridam is Goloka. And there are various divisions in Goloka Vrindavan. One of them is especially devoted to, as there are unlimited varieties in the spiritual world for the taste, that where the Lord's forms are very human-like, they're considered topmost. The Somya Vapu, the very pleasing form, is Arjuna even mentions to Krishna after he shows this universal form, show me the Somya Vapu now. I want to see that sublime form of your human-like form that I can relate to heart, as a friend to friend, or as we know from the other rasas, playing with him directly as a boy or as a little child. The parents' hearts are absorbed in serving him in parenthood, and of course there's Madhurya Rasa. And all those are facilitated by Krishna's appearing like a human. And Ramachandra also has that natural attraction. As noted by our acharyas, 3 manifestations of Krishna are all opulent. There is Nrsingadev. As we hear reference from Prahlad Maharaj himself when he refers in his prayers to Nrsingadev as a Govinda. He's calling out to Nrsingadev, but he sees him as Govinda because he's Krishna, but just he's a little angry. And then we have the form of Lord Ramachandra, who's also mentioned in our Shastras as being among all the avatars, among the 3 topmost, all opulent. Ramachandra has the beauty and, of course, the power. And then there's Krishna. So these 3 are considered. But is that the end of the comparison? We find that, of course, in the Bhagavatamrita, when Gopakumar, who is destined for, by his very nature, a relationship with Madan Gopal in Vrindavan, which would be in Gokula Vrindavan and then Goloka Vrindavan. As he's guru-less, apparently, his guru had given him a mantra and then fainted before explaining it, because just hearing the mantra he had given his disciple and being deeply absorbed in the meaning of it, he fainted. And his disciple thought, what did I do wrong? And then this guru wandered off. He was guruless. He had continued to chant his mantra. And by the mantra, of course, we know tapastam tapa etena tava siddhir bhavishyati. By your mantra, as Brahma told, Divya Saraswati told, Uvaja purtas tasmai tasya Divya Saraswati kama Krishna govinda he gopi jani tipi balabhaya priyavanir mantram te dasati priyam tapastam tapa etena tava siddhir bhavishyati. That I'm giving you this mantra, said Divine Saraswati to Brahma, and by chanting it, you'll attain perfection. So Gopakumar was chanting his mantra and his Krishna mantra, but he had not yet discovered his heart's desire. Although in the multitude of places he went throughout the universe and the various dhams in which he personally saw the Lord, he thought for some time that he was fully fulfilled, because who wouldn't? When you see the Supreme Personality of God in any of his forms, you're fully absorbed and drawn in. But his heart's desire, Abhishta Doham, was not fully reached by any of that. And Narada guides Gopakumar at one point as Gopakumar is getting closer to his ultimate destination, that go to Ayodhya and visit Ramchandra, as he wanted him to engage with the very personal form of the Lord. He had seen many other forms in Vaikuntha, the Lord four-armed, and even for Narayan, that was difficult because he's more attracted, is Narayan, to pure devotional service of the devotees who want to interact with him on a friendly level. Sanitya nitya sammanna prakritischa parayavasa. He has eternal kinship with the devotees, and of course Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach this. This is the topmost secret of all secrets that he came to teach. Anarpita charim chirat karana yavatirna kalau. In the Kali Yuga he did it. That there's something beyond just the majestic worship of the Lord. There's a very personal way to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in his evolution, Narada, observing the evolution of Gopakumar, Narada advises him to go see the Lord Ram. And there's a particularly beautiful description of Gopakumar's meeting with Lord Ramachandra, who is extremely personal with him. And Gopakumar there, as we read it, we also become fully absorbed and think, okay, this is the ultimate destination. Because Ramchandra is so perfect, he's so beautiful, he's so loving to his devotees, as he was to Gopakumar. But then there's a sense of wanting something more. And of course, we find even in Ram's Leela, there are ways in which some want more from him, and they approach him. For instance, the Shrutis personified during the time of Lord Ramachandra. When they saw Lord Ram, how could they not be head over heels? It's like, did you see that? And some of those Shrutis had an inclination to worship him in an amorous way. And Ramachandra said, not right now. He didn't say it, but it was communicated, because Krishna communicates with all of us constantly. Ye yatamam prapadyante. He's always responding to whatever we want. He's there within the heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshara junatishtiti brahmayansa sarvabhutani yantra drujani maya. He's accompanying us wherever we go, to whatever situation we end up in. He's there to guide us. And of course, a verse beloved to all devotees, Tesham satata yuktanam Pachatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhayogam tam yena mamupayanti te. That he's there just to reciprocate our love by showing us how to come closer to him if we ever happen to have that inclination within our heart. He says, I'll give you the intelligence to come. I'm just waiting for that moment. And so when Gopakumar went to Ramachandra, he was absorbed until he felt something wanting, and then he came to the direction of Narada again, or Narada came to him and gave him direction how to go further, which was to, after that he went to Dwarka, and after that he ended up going to Vrindavan. There are, as I'm trying to point out, there's a hierarchy. Krishna's all perfect. There's perfect, more perfect, most perfect. And there are various gradations in between those unlimitedly, because variety means there's so much variety, as we see here in the material world, for me, too much. That's when it comes to shopping. But in the spiritual world, there are unlimited varieties of ways that one can interact with the Supreme Personality of God and abhishdoham, feel one's heart's desire completely fulfilled. And as evidence that there is this hierarchy, especially with Nrsingadev, Ramchandra, and Krishna himself, Rupa Goswami in his Lakhu Bhagavatamrita describes that there are various incarnations of Jai and Vijay. For instance, Jai first takes birth as Hiranyakashipu. Boo. And then he takes birth as Ravan. Boo. Then he takes birth as Shishupal. Boo. Now this is arrangement of the Lord, but there's an analysis. But I should say, Jiva Goswami gives an analysis, or Rupa Goswami gives an analysis of the ways in which Jai, who is manifested in these different bodies, had relationships with all three of these forms of the Lord. That is, first is Nrsingadev, second is Ramchandra, third is Krishna. So let's analyze that for a minute. When Jai came in contact with Lord Nrsingadev, and he was definitively killed by him. No one can say he wasn't killed by the Lord himself, because we have photographic evidence that he tore him to shreds and opened up his heart and just ripped him a new one and put his intestines around it. It was definitive. And Jai didn't attain liberation. Rather, he took birth in another form as Ravan. Now, Ravan was not poor. He was extremely rich. Everything he had was gold. He lived with extreme mystic powers and unlimited material wealth at his command, servants, everything. And as Rupa Goswami says, what happened here? When he saw, Hiranyakashipu saw Lord Nrsingadev attacking, he thought, who is this? He couldn't recognize this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He saw a fearsome form attacking him, and he died in fear of that form, but he didn't recognize him, Lord Nrsingadev, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because he was killed by him, he attained great wealth and opulence in his next life by proximity to the Lord. And Ravana had that natural opulence, but he still had that enmity towards the Lord. And in his death, by the hands of Ramchandra, Ravana mistakenly thought, who is this human who's killing me? How is it even possible? He was so surprised because in his contract that he had drawn up with the best attorneys on the planet for how to live forever, he had neglected out of vanity to put in that he would be killed, immune to being killed by a human, because he thought, I didn't want to put that in there because it's obvious, right? And based on that opening, Lord Ramachandra, who came in an apparent human form, had killed Ravana, but still in that death, Ravana was thinking of him as an extremely powerful human. But we find in the case of Shishupal, a couple of things happened. As he took birth, he was also extremely opulent. You may have noticed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shishupal was materially no slouch. He was practically described as more opulent than Krishna. He had so much opulence, he was killed by Ramachandra in his next life. He had all these assets. And we all know that when he was a little child, he began saying the Lord's names. I didn't say chanting, but he was blaspheming Krishna. He still had this hatred towards the Lord. And in his last act, at the Rajasuya Yajna, where he tried to ruin the whole yajna, he waited till the perfect time to stand up and say, Krishna's not qualified, because previously they could have taken back the yajna, but after it was already finished, and he said if they had followed him and said Krishna wasn't qualified to be the first one worshipped in this yajna, it would have nullified the whole Rajasuya yajna. So he was diabolical in his calculation because he hated Krishna so much. And he stood up in the assembly and began blaspheming Krishna. So what happened there? Krishna artfully cut off his head. Artfully, I say, because it was a yajna, he didn't want to spill any blood. So he's so precise in the way he chopped off his head, so I know it's a family show, that no blood hit the ground. What's deeper, and what's related to this conversation, is that Shishupal, in the last moment before his head was severed, drank the beauty of the face of Lord Krishna. What's more, he had been chanting Krishna's names. And this I brought up at the Japa circle this morning, as mentioned by Rupa Goswami. There's two main ways that one becomes perfect in this life. One is by saying the names of the Lord, and the other is by seeing his beauty, because it's unparalleled. And Rupa Goswami uses this as proof, because Hiranyakashipu saw Lord Nrsingadev. Ravana saw Lord Ramachandra, no liberation. But when Shishupal saw Krishna and said his names, he was liberated at that point. So there's a way in which the Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, we have the description of Lord Ramachandra within the Srimad Bhagavatam. But it's by way of comparison to take us through the rasas and bring us to the ultimate conclusion that Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. What's more, his beauty is incomparable, even to his other forms. Let's not get it wrong. They're all Krishna. But only Krishna is Krishna. And only those killed by Krishna are completely liberated. Fascinatingly to me, in the commentary of Rupa Goswami, he quotes from the Vedanta Sutra. And he gives this verse, which I had never noticed before, except when I was reading about this topic. He quotes it. So is that Sutra 3.3.53. You don't have it on the thing, so don't worry. Where he says, Na samangana upala gemrityu vanahi okapani. And the translation is, as death, common to all, does not mean mukti, but only attainment of any particular region of enjoyment, so mukti is not attained by any ordinary or common vision of the Lord, obtained by every being when the Lord incarnates on earth as an avatar. And the purport by Baladev Vidyabhushan goes into detail about how one actually attains liberation from the world. And this verse is quoted by Rupa Goswami because it's in line with this understanding that only the form of Krishna, when he kills others or when people are in his presence, when they get killed, like at Kurukshetra, that they attain ultimate liberation. Conclusion, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And no one has the qualities that he has, and all other emanations are beautiful, fascinating, powerful, but nobody's Krishna. He's the ultimate. Comments, questions, complaints?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You mentioned that the three most opulent incarnations are Krishna, Ramachandra, and Nrsimhadev. Why then did Vijay get beaten by Krishna, Rama, but then instead of Nrsimhadev, he was beaten by Varahadev? Is there any significance to that?
You mean Hiranyaka was beaten by Varaha?
Yes.
Well, what's wrong with him being defeated by Varahadev? I mean, how does that, what's the question about why he was defeated by Varahadev?
More as in, you were mentioning how they were the three most opulent forms.
Yeah, but follow it to the end. That was the first one. And then you had Karna was the second one. Same situation as Jai, so we can just take them in parallel. And the third one was Dantavakra, and there Krishna had defeated Dantavakra right outside the gate of Vrindavan, actually. And personally came there from Dwarka, speedily came because he heard that he was close to Vrindavan. He said, I'm getting over there now to defeat him before he even enters into Vrindavan, because that's one of the main reasons he was outside of Vrindavan, was to defeat all the enemies and not lead anybody back to disturb the residents of Vrindavan. So there, he killed him, and Dantavakra attained liberation. That was his third. Does that help? Did it answer your question? Each of them was defeated subsequently, Jai and Vijay, by an expansion of the Lord. And they didn't, either of them, attain ultimate liberation until they came to Krishna Lila and were defeated by Krishna. This is the logic Rupa Goswami is giving.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, as he mentions, just for the articulation of his principle, he said, it's the charm of Krishna's names and the beauty of his transcendental body that ultimately liberated Shishupal. Okay, others? Yes, 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned the word kala, and this reference of 64 kalas. Could you elaborate what does
Well, I don't know if
kala
I said
mean?
64 kalas, but I was in reference to how Krishna expands himself into various forms. This is for his own enjoyment, starting from the very beginning. Eko Bahusham means God is one, but he expands himself into many for his own enjoyment. Because, for instance, if you were a queen and you didn't have any subjects, and you were just the queen, and there was nobody else, what would be the use of you being a queen? So in a similar way, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So he expands himself into unlimited forms for his own enjoyment. So he can enjoy in unlimited varieties. That's why there are unlimited varieties. There are unlimited living entities, like we're living entities. And we're asankhya. You can't count how many there are because God's unlimited and he wants unlimited relationships. How many relationships do you have? Mother, father, sister, brother,
Many.
teacher, so forth. I mean, we could probably if we spent all day, figure them all out. And maybe you have 10,000 or something like that. But Krishna's relationships are asankhya. They're uncountable. And so there's ways in which he also accommodates the unique kind of devotion that every devotee has by expanding himself into varieties of forms. There are varieties of deities, there are varieties of incarnations, because each living entity has an innate desire to worship Krishna in a specific way. So Krishna, yeyatamam prapadyana, he accommodates that. And he'll come in various forms. So it was in reference to that I mentioned that Krishna has kala, or expansions. He expands himself into many forms. One of the ways he expands himself is called Vaibhava Prakash. Vaibhava Prakash is exhibited, for instance, when Krishna met the two devotees, Shrutadev, who was a Brahmana, and Bahulashva, who was a king. And they both lived in Matila. And they had never been to see Krishna in Dwarka. Why had they never been to see Krishna? Because they had their home deities. And they couldn't leave them. And they had services they were doing for Krishna. They couldn't leave them. So they'd never been to Dwarka, but Krishna knew of the quality of their devotion. So he decided one day, I'm going to go see them. There's a good case for keeping your head down and doing your service, as Krishna will come see you. And when he came there to meet them, he had brought with him sages. Normally sages don't get in cars, or back then chariots. But Krishna insisted, and he told the sages, no, please get on. I don't want you to get fatigued on the way there, because they were going to go with him. So they all rode there to Matila, and when Shrutadev and Bahulashva came out to greet the Lord, independently, Krishna expanded himself into himself and all the sages, so that Bahulashva and Shrutadev both thought, oh, he just came to my house. and he stayed there to be entertained by them and served by them for some time. We find also his expansions in that way in Dwarka when Krishna marries 16,108 wives. But it's not that each one of them had to wait 16,108 days for him to stop by. He simultaneously lived in each one of the palaces with all of them. And each one of them thought, he's with me. When Krishna would leave his palaces in the morning, there would be 16,108 Krishnas. And when all of them would walk outside the gate, it was a gated community, outside the gate, they'd all merge into one. And then he would go to the Sudharma assembly house and do his work. Supposed work. He doesn't really work. He's unemployed. But there's also, we know from the pastime I mentioned earlier, how Krishna had expanded himself into the calves, cows, and boys. Identical, down to the very hair on the back of every calf. And that's called Vaibhava Prakash. And Krishna has Vaibhava Vilas. And Lord Chaitanya explains this to Sanatana Goswami. He talks about all the different forms of the Lord and their different categories of expansion. And all of them are meant for various pastimes. And they're unlimited. The Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the questions that sages ask. So tell us about all these avatars. It's called Avatar Katha. And he says, well, first of all, I'll tell you that they're unlimited as the waves on the ocean. They're coming again and again and again in different forms, and they're unlimited varieties to accommodate the relationships with all the living entities. What to speak of in the material world, he comes specifically out of compassion. This is the main purpose for the material creation, the Shrishti Leela, where he expands himself into this material creation. He's the ingredient cause. And he's also the efficient cause, where he enlivens the material nature and brings up all the varieties. Just like if you take a straw and you blow air into water, the water is the ingredient cause, and the straw and the air that you blow into is the efficient cause. So what are bubbles? They're little manifestations in the water. So Krishna manifests all the different forms in the material world, and according to the living entities' desires in this material world, they're situated variously in the modes of material nature, according to their desires. Asau gunamayar bhavir, bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi, sva nirmiteshu nirvishto, punkte bhuteshu tadgunan. And still he comes to liberate the living entities by appearing in these various incarnations, just to attract the attention, so they'll have something to talk about other than TikTok. That's something. Okay, Shraddha. Is that right? Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for taking us on this beautiful journey through the various shastras. It was very enlivening. So one request and a question. The request is that if in one of your future sessions you can take us through the Avatar Katha, that will be very interesting. And my question is that as we were watching Jay's journey through the various births that he took, finally getting liberated when he sees Krishna, so is it the same way it happens in the Mahabharata also, that people who have that, like in Bhagavad Gita it says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, right? So he's not visible to everybody. So it's only those who, in the Mahabharata war, who saw and looked upon him as Krishna, or how does that happen?
Actually, that's explained in the Vedanta Sutra verse. That there's a way in which one must cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord along with one's practice of devotional service. We know this from the Bhagavatam. Tachtradadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya. That one can attain success in devotional service fortified with scriptural knowledge of who the Lord is, besides one's practice. And it's also emphasized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that besides chanting Hare Krishna, you also have to simultaneously cultivate Sambandha Jnana, understand your relationship, non-relationship with the material world and your eternal relationship with Krishna. And so he points out, does Baladev Vidyabhushan in his purport to the Vedanta Sutra verse that I mentioned, that it's in the Linga Sharira, the subtle body of the living entity, is liberated. One becomes a Jivan Mukta when one receives Atma Tattva Gyan. A Jivan Mukta is not enough to go back to Godhead, but if one's a Jivan Mukta and one sees Krishna, then there's a sense of the proper understanding that, oh, that's Krishna. And then that person is naturally liberated by that experience. Whereas sometimes people, they don't have any inclination toward Krishna, and they also don't have Atma Tattva Gyan, and even though Krishna is present, they don't get any benefit. An example is given of this in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, after Parikshit Maharaj asked the question to Srukadeva Goswami, how is it that God's equal to everyone? Because it seems like, especially in previous cantos, he shows favor to Indra and his friends. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayati Yuke Yugam. So how is that? So he said, no, he's impartial. And he gives the example that in a classroom, a teacher teaches everybody, but some students don't do their homework and they don't pay attention. So is that the teacher's fault or the student's fault? And there's a responsibility from the side of the living being. And he said that everyone got benefit from the Lord because any contact with him is powerful, but there's one person who didn't, surprisingly, which was Vena. I mean, it's funny, in a conversation about him being equal to all, he points out, well, Vena didn't get anything, he just went to hell. And why? Because he thought he was God. And he didn't even recognize that there was a God or Krishna at all. And therefore he didn't get the kind of benefit that Kamsa got. For instance, Kamsa was thinking, that Krishna, I got to find him somewhere. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Whereas Vena is like, no, I'm God. Don't even talk about a God because that's who I am. And he didn't get the benefit. So it has to do with the ways in which one is predisposed. And so we find this in the Bhagavad Gita also. Of course, we have Yesham Tonta Katam Papam Jananam Punyakarmanam Te Dvandva Mohanir Mukta Bhajanti Mam Dridavrata, which is a verse in which Krishna says those who are trending towards the mode of goodness, they're more apt to take the devotional service seriously. But other commentaries say, well, those in the mode of goodness are generally hanging out in places where devotees are going to show up, and therefore they're going to make advancement in devotional service. Of course, in the Sankirtan movement, devotees can show up anywhere. So, but then you have the series in the seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasa artarti jnani cham paratarshava tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhakti vishishyate priyohi jnani no tyartam ahamsacha mama priya udarak sarava evaite jnani twap maematam astita sahiyuktatmam mamevam utamam gatim. And here is a telling sign to answer your question more, is that there's a way in which Krishna says there's four kinds of people who approach me. Those who are, lost their 401k. Then there's, they want wealth. The others who are suffering in different ways, and the ones, they're inquisitive. Then there's what's called the jnani. There's an ordinary jnani. These are people who have eka bhakti vishishite. This comes in the second verse. After he names these four kinds of sukritinas, the Sukritis, they're pious people who come to me, he says. So they're all good. But out of those, tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir. So the jnani here is not just an ordinary jnani who's a kind of Muni speculating about the absolute truth. It's a devotee. That's why Krishna says, Eka Bhakti Vishishyate, Priyo Hi Jnani Nota, that person's especially dear to me. And then Udarak Sarva Edvaite Jnani Twatvaimamematam. So they're all magnanimous souls, but the devotee, he's talking about Eka Bhakti Vishishyate. That person is especially dear to me. And in that group of Sukritis, those who can approach Krishna or do approach Krishna because they have an impetus to do so for various reasons. If one's a bhakta, then one's especially ripe for when they see Krishna, then naturally they're liberated. So to the degree that one has some predisposition, to that degree one is more readily liberated, and to the degree that one has no such disposition, we have other lists in the Bhagavad Gita. Namam duskritunu muna prapadyante naradama. They don't surrender. Right? Okay, there was one more, and there's a couple on Zoom, and we have Radhakripa Prabhu. Okay.
I was appreciating the point which you said about we have getting attracted to the names of the Lord and seeing His beauty. And I was reflecting how we have the process of Bhagavad Marg and Pancharatri Marg, which have both two things in common, like focusing on the names and qualities of the Lord and seeing His beauty. So my question was if you could elaborate more on how we can take the best advantage of following these two processes, Bhagavad Marg and Pancharatri Marg.
It's given by Lord Chaitanya. We have those who enter into the Guru Parampara become especially privileged. If you look up the word privilege and you analyze its meaning, it means a private law. You get a special set of laws for those who are devotees. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially came to offer this to everybody because in the Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to take spiritual practice. It's hard to find a genuine process where you can become fully absorbed in pure devotional service. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes it available to everybody. And if you enter into the Sri Guru Parampara system, which is the recommendation of Rupa Goswami. When he talks about the 64 process items of devotional service, he says, Adao Guru Ashrayam, so Guru Prashad, and take up the initiation, go into the process deeply through Guru. That's the entrance way. If you do that in the Guru Parampara for the process of that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, then you go through the process and you receive Harinam initiation, Bhagavat Marg, and then as you continue on that, then you know the 5, right? The acronym is Temple Presidents Need More Yes Men. So it goes Tapa, Poundra, Nama, Mantra, Yaga. So Tapa means you turn away from, there's different interpretations of it because it's the same process used by the Ramanujas, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains it in an essay. He says, Tapa for the devotees, for the entering the Vaishnava, you turn away from the material world. It's your tapasya. It's like, no thanks. I'm going to go a different direction. And then Pondra means you start identifying yourself as a Vaishnava. And then a Nama means you get a new name. And you start chanting the name with a vow. And then Mantra means you enter into the Panchatric mantra. So entering into Panchatric requires a guru. Nowadays you can go to Loi Bazaar or maybe go online and just order deities. But deity worship, we want to enter into the mantra. You have to have a mantra to worship the Lord, and that mantra has to come from the Guru Parampara. That's the prerequisite for the Panchatric Vidi. Doesn't mean if you have deities at home now and you're not initiated that you should close the curtains forever. Gaura-Nitai are very forgiving. If you're on the pathway, it just means you can't use the proper mantras, and you can't enter into Panchatric proper without initiation with the Diksha Guru. Divyam Gyanam Todadyat Kuryat Papasa Sangshayam Tasmat Dikshet Tisa Prokta Deshikais Tatfut Kovidai. The intelligent people describe this process of Diksha as receiving the mantra for Divyam Gyanam. Then you can worship the deity, and that's the process through which one enters, and that's available through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lineage, that people will invite you in. And if you enter into the process, there are many different Gaudiya groups. People sometimes say, why not go here, there, and everywhere? Fine, go ahead. But if you find a process where everything's included and you feel at home, then you're in the right place. And don't get all scatterbrained about it. Stick to one process. Find it, remove all your doubts, and then become fully situated in it. And despite the fact that institutions are cumbersome, people are endlessly troublesome, and being in an organization means there are going to be scandals, you find the essence of it, the process, and you follow it to the best of your ability. And if you can do that in Kali Yuga, you got the best of the best. And you can do Panchatric Vidi right here. The curtains open, and we saw Hansapriya and Bali Mardon there, happy as bees in a spring day. You know, they're decorating the deity, and whoever else was back there doing that. Those who made the garlands and all this. I mean, where else are you going to get this in Silicon Valley? When I take these garlands out, whenever I get them, I put them in I don't put them in Gitavali puts them in my instrument bag, so it's in my car, right after Youth Jam. And then I take them to somebody and say, here you go. And they're like, what? They're transported to another planet, which is Goloka Vrindavan. So if you want to live in Goloka Vrindavan, join the Guru Parampara. And there's a complete menu here that is good enough to go back to Godhead in the process that Prabhupada set up. Okay, now I said we're going to go to the... Okay, we'll go to who's on the left, because that means they were first. Krishna Saka, then we'll go to Radha Kripa, and then for the grand finale, we're going to go to Vaikuntha Nayaka. Okay, online Krishna Saka and company. And by the way, this is unprecedented in ISKCON. It's the latest thing, which is to have Grahasta traveling Sankirtan parties. I've told a few people about it, and they went, and it's a trend that could change the world, is changing the world, and I think it's just the most beautiful thing. So please tell us what's going on out there. Yeah. Now, whatever you say better be good after that.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for your blessings and encouragement. We would like to introduce Derek. He's also joining here for the first time. We met Kamalakshi met him actually last year in Oregon State University, and this year we met him again, and it was so awesome that how much spiritual progress he has made. He has read Bhagavad Gita few times, heard many times, and also now he offers vegetarian food to Krishna. And yeah, one thing I like most is when I met him, he said that when he went to the Portland temple on Janmashtami, he 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 said, and there were so many people, and he said, I don't know here anyone but you, Krishna. So it's very inspiring to see. So, welcome, Derek. Would you like to say hi or introduce yourself to our community here? If you're still online, you're still here, but something. Yeah, maybe I'll ask him offline. Thank you.
Yeah, we find all the time people come to Krishna consciousness, say, where'd you hear about that? They say, I met Krishna. Where? In a parking lot.
Thank you very much.
Is Derek here?
He's here.
Okay, well, let's not embarrass him. If he wants to speak up anytime, Derek, you just raise your hand and we'll call on you. And in the meantime, we're going to go to Radha Kripa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. After hearing today's lecture, my heart was filled with gratitude to all the acharyas. I'm starting with the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, but then to the Prabhupada, then especially to you, because you have taken so much time in churning all the literature which acharyas has presented, and you have just gifted us, just sharing out of just compassion to all of us in such a beautiful and simple manner. And then if I would not been here today, I would have really missed something special. So just wanted to thank you.
Kuchira Koso. Igualmente. Okay. Vaikuntha Nayaka, coming all the way from Mysore, the home of Mysore Pak.
Dandavats Maharaj,
Hare
all
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada news to you. Maharaj, my question is, in the beginning you mentioned about the 6 philosophies in Sanatana Dharma, and you said how Veda Vyasa's, the Vedanta Sutra, this is the perfect and complete. I was just wondering if the other philosophies also have some kind of an undercurrent of bhakti. But the reason why I'm asking this is because Srila Prabhupada gave you the name Vaisesika Das. So I'm guessing there must be some devotional element to this. So if you think appropriate, if you can elaborate on this, please.
Sure. As far as my name goes, it is a name of Krishna because it has, the meaning of it is Vishesha. As you all know, who study Sanskrit, that means specific or special, unique. And Krishna is unique. What's more, his creation is unique. There's not one living entity that's the same as another. There's not one sunset or sunrise that's the same as another. Everything in Krishna's creation is unique and special. And Vaisheshika is a name that brings out that special aspect of Krishna. In fact, it means Krishna as the most special, and all of his creation as special. And as far as the darshans go, there's a Sankhya. From Sankhya, we extract the understanding of how the material manifestations evolve from subtle to gross. I think I mentioned that one. In yoga, we have the eightfold system of meditation, and of course we get for Patanjali Muni, the originator of that philosophy, the psychology, yoga psychology, how the mind works. And it's given in detail from that. Then we have Nyaya, which we get the tools of logic. And then we have Vaisesika philosophy, which is descriptive of the categories of metaphysical knowledge. And then we have Mimamsa, through which we'll find extensive use of Mimamsa from our acharyas, especially Jiva Goswami, Rupa Sanatans, have used their ways of analyzing scripture. There are various rules and regulations and ways in which, protocol, in which one can very accurately and precisely decipher the meanings of the Shastra and so forth. And that is readily borrowed from Mimamsa and used by the devotees who follow Srila Vyasadeva. So there are elements in each one of them that are useful and informative. Prabhupada quotes from Patanjali in the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, when he talks about various levels of consciousness and samadhi and the other ones as well. We find throughout our Shastras, but only Srila Vyasadeva comes to the point. All the other ones you'll find fall short somewhere in coming to the ultimate conclusion, which is that Jiv Krishna Das e Bishwas, Korletor Dukanai. You're a servant of Lord Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, incomplete knowledge of the complete whole is the only causes dissatisfaction. But Srila Vyasadeva's magnus opus, the Bhagavatam, gives complete satisfaction and perfection. And now that's it. So thank you everyone for coming out on a yes, Prabhu.
I was recollecting a very nice paragraph in the purport of 10th canto, 87th verse, 87th chapter, 25th verse. There is a nice paragraph which connects how the Vedanta Sutra is the ultimate truth among all these philosophies, and how all these philosophies actually help us to connect to Vedanta Sutra. I mean, how they contribute to that. There's a nice paragraph in that.
That's what I was quoting from when I just gave.
Okay.
You showed a Kripa? Okay, let's look at it since you actually so expertly brought up the verse. Go to the translation, please. 87:25 says, supposed authorities who declare that matter is the origin of existence, that the permanent qualities of the soul can be destroyed, that the self is compounded of separate aspects of spirit and matter, or that material transactions constitute reality, all such authorities base their teachings on mistaken ideas that hide the truth. The dualistic conception that the living entity is produced from the three modes of nature is simply a product of ignorance. Such a conception has no real basis in you, for you are transcendental to all illusion and always enjoy perfect total awareness. We'd read the purport, but we're already over time, and the 11th canto has the longest purports in the whole Bhagavatam, because it's the one they started on, did the servants of Srila Prabhupada, and some had, after that, accused them of being overly enthusiastic. Okay, Radhakripa. Yashoda Kripa, sorry.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
The Kripa brothers.
Very good. Well, there's just a little fun stuff here. When Raghunatha Prabhu was asking this question, I looked up online on Google about Vaisesika, the name and all. So it gives all the details that you mentioned. At the bottom, it says Vaisesika Dasa. There is a person named Vaisesika Dasa who is an ISKCON leader, but he has got nothing to do with this philosophical school. And generative AI is experimental.
Thank you, Chat GPT. I appreciate that for clarifying. Okay, and I think Krishna Saka had his hand up for the close. Or did you just leave your hand up?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
We
Krishna.
just want to also welcome Gaurang Chandra Prabhu, who is from Seattle, and he has lovingly hosted us in this place.
Oh, look at that. That's the best. Hare Krishna. Give him a... Yeah. You know. See, that's spiritual intelligence. If you live in a house, it tends to become a cocoon and you get stuck in there. But if you're smart, like Prabhu is, in inviting Vaishnavas in, then what happens is your house becomes a vibrant ashram. And you can survive many decades of the Grihastha ashram and come out the other side unscathed. So this is the best use of one's home. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for facilitating the expansion of the Sankirtan movement in this way. And may you get 1,000 times credit for all the rounds that you chant, for bringing in all these devotees and helping expand the movement. Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat.
I was talking to Prabhu and I realized that we are getting pallets and pallets of books.
Neighbors are starting to wonder, like.
Yeah, so it was amusement to see the pallets of books coming my home. So I'm still trying to fathom the scale at which our devotees are distributing books. I look forward to participate, benefit, and cooperate in this. We are also now translating the books getting distributed in Washington. Now we are collecting the contacts so that we can teach them Bhagavad Gita and cultivate them. So we need your blessings for the project, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Tatastu. Hare Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada. Yes.
Sorry, Maharaj, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Maharaj, I just wanted to say one more thing. Today we are also going for an Indian store. It's considered as one of the best Indian store in the world. There are only people from two companies, Amazon and Microsoft, who come to the store, and they are always willing to support this cause of Gram Vidyadan. So I just wanted to take your prayers and blessings.
May you have the biggest day in the history of ISV book distribution. Hare Krishna. That's actually how it all started at an Indian store, and I forget the name of it, Indian Cash and Carry. We renamed it the Gold Mine. It ran out of gold eventually, but it gave us a good start. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, if you so desire, please empower us to spread your glories all over the world. Please keep us in the association of pure devotees. And please let us always chant your holy names and be enchanted by your beautiful forms. Thank you for considering our requests. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
We're waiting for the unveiling of the new slide, which will come at the end of Youth Jam. It's a secret until you see it. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptaruscha kripasindave vacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakodi vaishnaviniki jai go premanande haribo. Now, what are we doing? Oh, youth. The youth presentations coming just now. I'm keeping this one too today.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for a very enlivening Saturday morning class. I've been listening to it all morning, and so many different points that you brought out, and very grateful. We'll move on to our next part of the presentation, which is a continuation of the series on the Dhruva Maharaj story. And the students have been learning from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's book, Dhruva. And now this is the second section of the book. The first section was all about Dhruva being young and attaining the darshan of the Lord, going through different, emotions, dealing with his stepmother, and then recovering. And now he's grown up. He's a grihastha. He grows up. His father Uttanapad, installs him on the throne and leaves for the forest. Now he's married to daughters of one Prajapati Shishumara, and he has 2 sons from her. And he's also married to the daughter of the demigod Vayu, and her name is Ila, and he has a daughter and a son. So his position in society, his mode is a little bit now as a grown up, as a grihastha. So today, Nimai will be presenting on what happens at this stage of his life.
Hare Krishna. My name is Namai. Today I will be speaking on the 11th chapter, The Pain of Losing a Companion, from Gauranga Darshan Dasa's book, Dhruva. First, let's outline today's plan. First we will talk about 2 back-to-back deaths, then we will move on to the anguish of a loving heart. Finally, we will conclude with some pearls of wisdom that we can take away from these stories. Our first section, 2 back-to-back deaths. Once while hunting in the forest, Dhruva's stepbrother, Uttama, was killed by a powerful yaksha in the Himalayan mountains. Hearing this, Surchi, Uttama's mother, immediately rushed to the forest searching for her son. However, she was also killed in a forest fire there. How could the Lord give Dhruva and Surchi such ghastly deaths? After all, they repented for their offenses against Dhruva, and Dhruva forgave them. So why would the Lord still punish them so severely? Well, in the end, they still committed offenses, so they had to suffer the brunt of the reactions on a bodily platform, which is why they were killed in these ways. However, their souls were definitely elevated, and for sure they achieved a better destination in their next life. Sometimes the Lord puts devotees in an awkward position to teach the common people a truth. This does not mean that the Lord is unkind, which is why we shouldn't jump to conclusions based on what we see with our material eyes. Next, we will speak on the anguish of a loving heart. In the 10th chapter of the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4th verse explains, Dhruvo Bhratir Vadam Shrutva Kopamarsha Shacharpita Jaitram Sandanam Asthaya Gata Punya Janalayam. Translation: When Dhruva Maharaj heard the killing of his brother Uttama by the yakshas in the Himalaya mountains, being overwhelmed with lamentation and anger, he got on his chariot and went out for victory over the city of the Yakshas, Alakapuri. As soon as Dhruva heard the news of Uttama's and Suruchi's death, he immediately picked up his bow and arrows and rushed to the city of Alakapuri, to Alakapuri region to fight with the Yakshas. How could Dhruva get infuriated so easily? He was a devotee of the Lord, after all, and one of the greatest teachings of the scriptures is that we should not be affected by the dualities of material nature. Sometimes we are successful, sometimes we fail, sometimes we are victorious, sometimes we are defeated, sometimes we are happy, and sometimes we are distressed. We must learn to be neutral throughout all of these in order to overcome material nature. However, in the end, Dhruva is a human. He has emotions. So when his brother is unceremoniously killed in this way, he is obviously going to feel some distress. It is natural for a devotee to feel emotion. It is natural for a devotee to feel emotion and distress and even lament without being attached. Philosophy shouldn't be used as an excuse. Philosophy should not make us stone-hearted. It should make us soft-hearted. Yes. And finally, we will talk about some pearls of wisdom that we have learned from this story. First, we learned how we should never give up our love for our dear ones and just tag that as philosophy. Dhruva was the king, and when his brother was so unceremoniously killed by a yaksha, he had to do his duty to take revenge against the yakshas. This is completely justifiable because it was his duty to kill someone who had committed this offense. Furthermore, spirituality should arrest attachment and embrace emotion. Dhruva's spirituality made him act with sensitivity without being attached to the result. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Does anyone have any questions?
Nimai, good to see you for an encore performance.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
I was noticing that it was succinct, but dense. It had a lot of lessons in it, and I took notes for most of them. I did miss the last slide though because it went really fast.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
It says spirituality arrests attachment and embraces emotion. And I was curious if you could say more about how spirituality arrests. It's an interesting use of word, like it's a metaphor. Arrests attachment and embraces emotion. Can you give any more of your own thoughts about how that works in our lives as devotees when we're practicing Krishna consciousness, how attachments get arrested, and how we feel like embracing, arrests attachment and embraces emotion. Yeah, can you say more about that?
So what arrests attachment and embraces emotion means, the reason we feel emotion towards certain things is because we're attached to it. Like, if, for example, like a materialist, if a friend is injured, they will feel emotion because they are attached to that friend. What we should do, we should not be attached, but we should show emotion. So I'm just going to say a personal example here. I'm going to take grades, for example. I'm not attached to my grades, but I do lament when I don't get good grades, and that is That is just a materialistic example, but it shows how we don't have to be attached to show emotion, and that is what spirituality is mainly about.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice presentation.
Thank you.
So one thing I was trying to digest is Uttama and Suruchi, they had to pay for the offense that they committed to Dhruva Maharaj. But if you look at the time when they committed an offense to Dhruva Maharaj, he was not actually a devotee, apparently at least. So, but the punishment seems to be very severe, right? So how do we comprehend this?
Well, Dhruva became a devotee later, and he definitely did something pious in his past life, considering that he was able to meet Vishnu after only 6 months at the age of 5, when it has taken advanced sages thousands upon thousands of years just to even get close to meeting Vishnu. And Dhruva just did it in 6 months, in half a year, at the age of 5. So Dhruva was definitely advanced before he started. And even then, he became a devotee of Vishnu, and so Krishna definitely satisfied all of his desires. Furthermore, one of his desires was that he would have a larger kingdom than even his great-grandfather Brahma. So, Vishnu said he would satisfy all of his desires, and that meant one of Dhruva's desires before he became a devotee of Vishnu, one of his desires was that he could take revenge on Uttama and Suruchi for the way they had offended him. So just as Vishnu satisfied his desire to give him a kingdom larger than Brahma, which was the pole star, he also satisfied his desire to take revenge on Uttama and Suruchi.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you so much, Nimai. I think that was a nice answer and a comprehensive answer. And thank you all for listening. It's been an honor for listening to this continuing series of Dhruva and going deep into it. Thank you so much for all your encouragement.
Thank you.
Now we have a couple of brief announcements from our sponsors. First is Bhakti Community. Tell us what we've won. You've won a microphone.
Thank you, Maharaj. I just want to inform everybody that Bhakti Community is a community where we have a lot of programs for newcomers, and there are a variety of programs. One of the latest addition is the mantra meditation program. Premanishta is here. Raise your hand. And she does a wonderful job taking people through the mantra meditation. She does it for 30 minutes. People are loving it. If you just are interested to introduce like basics of mantra meditation and do some chanting together, that's the best forum to join. And many other programs are there. Talk to me for more details. We have a website, www.bhakticommunity.com, and a lot of programs you can understand. One quick update I want to provide from last night's this Mantra Zone program, which is an in-person mantra meditation and wisdom talk program that we do. And I was really so happy to see the gathering last night. There were a variety of people, and a variety of devotees came and brought different people. For example, Yashoda Kripa and Mantra Siddhi came. They brought a German person and they were with him throughout, taking care of him. Vicky was taking care. Some people were just naturally resonated with Vicky, like she was like Chinese looking and those people were Chinese looking, and they just like to just talk to her, and it was so nice to see that. And Tulasi Bhakti, she is another new aspiring, like very nice girl, and some of the young people of her age just got attracted to her and they were talking to her. It was so nice. And then there were small kids, what's his name, Gopal Rai, and many other kids came, and they went to the backyard and they were playing with a baseball bat, the pickleball ball and baseball bat. So they figured out some game, and they played for 2 hours, and they were just like fully taken care of. We had night prasadam. Achut Balram, where are you? His wife always sends like nice prasadam. So I was just thinking, like, this is real community, and everybody felt so nice. And in the end of the program, I announced them that you can hang around as much as you liked. And people were just not going. And, my family, we all suddenly realized, we all went in a room and we just lied down. And then we said, no, one of us should be outside. So it was really nice. And, I feel like, you all should take advantage of such a community. And when you give books, please invite people, and we can help them take their spiritual journeys forward. Thank you.
And now we have Malini Devi Dasi speaking on behalf of Team ISV Book Distribution. Give her a big hand.
Hare Krishna. You've already seen on the screen that a team is already out, not just today, but they're out for the last 1 week. They have been having huge success. Krishna Saka Prabhu, Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu, Manjari Gopika, and Kamalakshi Devi Dasi. Very nice stories that they're posting on the Weekend Warriors group. It was not just on Saturday, Sunday, but every day in the week. So nice. And we also had some devotees. We usually go out to the gold mine that Prabhu was mentioning, India Cash and Carry. The gold is exhausted now, so we have to move to another place. So last week we tried a new place called Evergreen. And it was one person came to our table, and we were showing the Srimad Bhagavatam to that person. And the person was just going through all the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam book that he had. And the wife was intently listening. And the wife didn't say a word, but then the husband was saying, actually I'm atheist. But he was the one going through the pages where he said he was an atheist. And then later he mentioned a story that he had a shoulder problem where he got that shoulder operated by His Grace Pushta Krishna Prabhu. And he mentioned that Pushta Krishna Prabhu, after the surgery, he gave him his book. I think I forgot the title of that book. But he said that study chapter 6 and I'll give you a test when you come back for the next time for the appointment. And then he said, like, he forced me to read that book, And then anyway, he mentioned that he read the book. He didn't support anything, but still he read because it was going to be a test for him. And then later, his wife said that I'm very religious, but my husband is an atheist. He cannot take the books. He will not read. And then I told her that, okay, you don't have to read the books. Can you preserve it in your home? Because this is the preservation project. We are preserving these Vedas in every home. And then he said that the husband said, I don't have a problem with preservation. I'm up for preservation. He said, I won't read them, but I will preserve them. And then he himself asked, so do we have to make a donation? And then we said, yes. We asked for a donation of $250. And then he said that he owns a company or something. He said he gave $500, but he said, I'm just preserving, I'm not reading. it was such a wonderful experience. Like there is no, I mean, as they say they are atheist, but I don't know what his idea of atheism is, but he took the set of Srimad Bhagavatam, very, very encouraging. And there was another person who came from Fiji. And then he and his wife, I think wife or some partner who lives very far, they both are planning to move to Sacramento sometime soon. And they were very hesitant to take the books now because their house is completely, fully messy because they're cleaning up and the new place in Sacramento has to be painted and everything. And we said, okay, we understand your concern, no problem. Do you want to pre-book your Bhagavatam set? And then he said, how much is the Bhagavatam? We said $250. And then how much for pre-booking? And we said, you can pay $100 now and $150 when you can come and get the set. And he said, okay, fine, I'll do it. He took the Bhagavatam, he gave $100, and he said, he wants to come to the temple and pick up the set, and he gave all his information, and then he said, I'll pay the remaining money then, and I'll take my Bhagavatam set. It was so nice to, as Vaisesika Prabhu says, honor their objections, instead of saying, no, it's okay, put it in your house. But we honored his objection, saying that, yes, he doesn't have a space, but we gave him some options on how he can get the Bhagavatam set. He was very satisfied. And we met many other nice people also in that area. So you're welcome to join. We're again going to the Evergreen area today. We'll have 2 different stores there, so please come join us. There is another very, very potential spot, that is Fremont. They did like 8 or 9 Bhagavatam sets in one spot last week. So please join them. Kameshwari and Ramrati Prabhu and others are there in that team. We have one team in Dublin that is led by Harikatha Mataji and others. And in Western Sankirtan team, which spots are you going, Kautukana Prabhu? Okay, one team is going to San Francisco. And if anybody wants to join Portland team, you're welcome to do so. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Now an announcement about who cooked prasadam this morning. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, today's prasadam was cooked by Hansa Priya Mataji, Malai Prabhu, Samath Prabhu, and Shriji Priya Mataji.
Any other announcements?
Hare Krishna, everyone. We're keeping the Harinam going strong, and we have a spot at Litton Plaza from 4 to 6 p.m. today. Please join us if you're available. Thank you.
Anyone else? Shari Radvijja Jodendriya Sahika Jive Pele Vishaya Shagore Dharma Devivayati Loba Moisudumati Take Jeta Kapita Sanshare Krishna Bharagoya Moy Kori Pare Jivajay Swaprasadana Dilobai Shayandam Vitapao Radha Krishna Gunagao Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nita Premedako Shri Chaitanya Gita Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Sapa Punya Vakam Rajan Vishwaso Narvajayate Prasade Sarvadhikanam Anirasya Upajayate Prasanate Tasoyashri Paya Patishtate Tvayopavuta Sraganda Vasavankara Charchita Uchishta Bodhino Dasa Davamayam Jayemahi Shuksham Prayushi Sambhapi Nittam Badula Deshata Prapti Matrena Bhuktavjam Natakala Vicharana Nadesha Niyamastatra Nakavaniyamastata Praptamanam Dittam Shishte Bhuktavjam Kadirabrade Bhagavan Shrima Prashadiki Gaur Premanande Nitai Gauda Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Please come take prasadam and have a huge day on Sankirtan. Hare Krishna. Vanchkalpataruscha, Kripasinvacha, Patitanam, Pavanibhyo, Vaisesika.